Hi everyone, it's Miss Smoot. I'm going to talk to you guys today about your note cards for your research project. By now, you have found all three of your sources. You have your internet source, that should be a website, not a presentation or anything, but like an actual website, not like one that has all sorts of weird information on it, like from Quora or Khan Academy, but like an actual website that passes the craft test. We also have an academic source, which comes from either an academic journal or a magazine or newspaper, those kind of things that come out periodically. Encyclopedias do not count. That could be your third source. Ebooks do not count. That could be your third source. It needs to be from an academic journal, magazine, or newspaper. And I don't mean like People magazine, I mean like New York Times or National Geographic as far as like a newspaper and magazine. And that's gonna be your second source. The third source is up to you. That's a great place to use a like nice hefty encyclopedia source, a video you find, an interesting interview, those kinds of things. Or if you're like, I found a second great article, can I use that one? Yeah, totally. Great idea. So once you have all three academic sources, once you have all three sources, it's now time to start looking at our note cards. Um, Note cards can seem a little bit confusing to some students, like, why do we have to do this? And I'm going to cover that. Don't worry. I got you, boo. So, all this is also in our compiled research information PowerPoint that's already in its learning. So if you just want to click through after you've watched this, like at another time, that sounds great, but do watch all the way through. So we're going to be talking about like what is a note card, what goes on a note card, so that way you guys can learn how to properly set one up. The whole purpose of note cards are you found your sources. Great job. So proud. But that's pretty daunting to like look at three sources, one being a website, one being like, a great article or magazine thing, and one being from like whatever else you find for your third source. And you're like, oh, I don't really know how to go from here to paper. Or I'm sorry, from here to project. What do I do? Well, we're going to work on using note cards to pull out the important facts that support your subtopics to make your lives a little bit easier when it comes to like organizing our information. Um, I already told you guys that we do the note cards inside the packet because that way you don't necessarily lose the note cards. Um, if it comes down to it, you're like, I really want to be able to cut these out and kind of like move them around when I'm organizing stuff. I'm okay with that. Um, just like, make sure that you aren't putting, let's see, just make sure if you want to like cut them out, that you don't lose them or anything, that you hang on to them because I do have to check them. I just left mine in my packet. I would kind of like highlight them in a certain color once I use them. That would be my kind of suggestion, but again, it's up to you. Okay, so they're printed in the packets so we don't lose them. That way they're on a separate sheet, so you can at least still look at them. If you really wanted to cut them out, you totally could. We'll go from there. Each note card should contain one fact or statistic or quote. That way, you may be like, oh my God, 18 note cards. Really, it's not that bad. You have three sources. So in theory, you should have about 6 note cards from source. You may be like, oh, but this one's really great. So I have like 10 from this one and like 4 and 4 from the other two. That's okay. I'm okay with that as long as they are good quality facts or statistics or quotes. Um, as you write down the fact, use as few words as possible. Um, here's the big catch that some students run into is if they read a fact in an article and they just write it down word for word from the article, they don't remember to go back and change it later. And then when they're presenting and they have to turn in their presentation slides, it pops up as plagiarized because it's like, oh, they just took this word for word from the article. We're not going to do that because we take it word for word. That means you're quoting the article. So you have to write it down as a quote and cite it instead of just writing it down. Word for word, and calling it a fact. So the words you do use for your facts should be changed into your own words to avoid plagiarism. That's called paraphrasing. If you write a direct quote on a note card, make sure to include who said the quote and to put the quotation marks around it so that way you can remember, oh yeah, it definitely is a quote. Be very careful to quote accurately, even if they spelled something differently than you would spell it, you still have to spell it the same way that they would. And also you need to, on your note cards, excuse me, write down the site of the source so that way you can be accurate with your source numbers and your citations. What you should not put on note cards. Do not put anything super obvious, such as like the battle took place during World War II. Ray Bradbury is an author. The Holocaust was a bad thing. Like, we already know those kinds of things. The rule of thumb is if it's general public knowledge, probably shouldn't bother going on a note card. Now, I know some of you are like, well, I'm actually like super smart, Miss Smoot, and I already know everything there is to know about this topic. Amazing. I'm so proud. But like, if everyone else in your group didn't know the cool thing that you found in your article, you're like, I've known that for forever, then I think that's okay to put a note card. But if they already knew the fact that you're talking about, such as Nazis are bad people, probably does not need to go on a note card. You don't need to put anything in there on note cards that doesn't fit with your thesis, or in our case, more of our like focuses with our subtopics. And you don't need to have too many facts at once. You'll be able to like move around or organize them better. So only one fact per note card. Doo-ba-doo. Oh, there you go. You guys have 18 blank note cards already. More facts means that you'll have better support and therefore like a higher grade on your whole entire presentation as a whole. You only need one fact or statistic or quote per card. Make sure that you write down where that's came from your sources. And then you'll also receive points for your note cards. I'll be honest, I have it happen every single year. A student thinks I'm not going to check it as thoroughly, and they just write down like really random or like very common facts for their note cards, and they don't get a good grade on the note card check. I'm like, Miss Smoot, why did I get a good grade? Well, you wrote down Nazis are bad, and then the next card was evil people in this scenario are Nazis. Like, those are both bad facts, and you're just trying to repeat yourself. Or they do write down good facts, but they don't cite them properly, and they don't have the right information on the note cards, and that hurts their grade too. So let's practice. This is kind of like how it's set up for on your page. The subtopic this fact fits in with. It's kind of like that like smaller question that you guys assign for each group member. Basically, I'm asking which of your questions does it go with? You don't have to write out the whole question because like again, I'm not trying to waste your time. But if the whole question is what events led up to this movement in history? Just be like events leading to book burning. Like that'd be fine as your subtopic. For source number, in theory, we would need to write down our like title. However, you guys know that I don't like to waste your time if I can help it. So if you look on page 5 of your packet where you guys are recording down your sources, you have your academic source first, then there's the internet source, and there's your third option. That's dealer's choice. They're already numbered for you. So instead of having to write out the title, I would just write source number 2 if it came from my internet source, source number 1 if it came from that academic journal, source number 3 if it came from whatever third source I found that passed the crap test and that I liked. Um, that way, you don't have to write out the whole title again and again and again 18 times. If you're like, but I really need to write out the title, like it would just make my life so much better. Okay, that's fine. You do you, boo-boo. Then this is where your note will go on the note card. It can be a statistic, a fact, a paraphrased thing, or a direct quote. Remember, direct quote makes you put quotation marks and also tell me who said it. I need a name, not just historians. There's also page number. Like we kind of talked about briefly in class, like websites don't have page numbers. So if it's from your website, you don't need to put down a page number. However, if it's from your article or your magazine or your newspaper, those do all have page numbers. So you'll definitely want to put down whatever page number, excuse me, you pull that from. So make sure you include page number when it fits your topic and when it fits the source. And so that's everything that I have about note cards. In theory, in a perfect world, you would have 18 note cards when I walk in the door on Monday. However, if you get stuck, I completely understand. So we can kind of like tighten that up together. Just do your best. If you get stuck, feel free to talk to a neighbor nearby and see how they're handling it. And then if like they can't figure it out and no one else can really figure it out, just write it down so that way you can ask me about it. I won't really have access to my email this weekend, but don't worry. I will help you guys out on Monday, so don't stress. All right, guys, I think that's everything I've got about note cards. So best of luck. You've got this.